Oh, and they respond with the KO. That one sip is all it takes. One sip, folks. Today I am reacting to the madness, and no, not what me and many others have gone through in the wait for the COVID-19 vaccine. I'm talking about March Madness, the NCAA Division I men's basketball tournament. And the article today that I'm reacting to is from March 23rd from NCAA.com. Not a single NCAA bracket out of millions predicted this Sweet 16. The article talks about how most of the brackets were around 50% when it came to predicting the Sweet 16. I myself had 9 of 16 teams advancing through a rough first round. I mean, it was one of my roughest first rounds for predictions since I started making predictions when I was 16. And I do want to say, as a disclaimer for the season, I didn't watch nearly as many games as I have in the past because COVID-19 made things odd for me. I'm a sports editor is my day job, I guess, day-night job. And COVID-19 made things tough based on the way scheduling and everything went. I couldn't even watch as many conference tournament games as I have in the past. And I wasn't really able to enjoy the first round of the NCAA tournament like I usually do because I was actually working at home and also going to games, writing articles, going through photos for the Minnesota State High School League playoffs. So it was kind of a different time for me. But my strategy, I definitely noticed, there was it didn't work out as good. I was looking at defense, 3-point shooting, style of play, all those things. I was looking at statistics. And while statistics are great, I always feel the eye test is just as important because watching how a team responds at halftime, changing offense, defense, how they respond to pressure situations is very important. And it's funny because the teams I was able to watch randomly are the teams I have going to the Elite Eight, including Loyola Chicago. I actually watched a few games of theirs. So, I mean, I think that proves that watching teams is just as important as statistics. But as for the article, I'm in the 5.98 percentage of brackets that had 9 to 16 teams, and the percentages are under 1% as you go up to 11 to 15 correct teams. Of course, nobody had 16. My best pick, Loyola Chicago, only 7.12% of brackets had, and amazingly, 2.05% picked Oral Roberts, and 2 of those brackets had 14 other teams chosen correctly. So kudos to you, and good luck. To see if you're the best in the nation. But, when I look at these picks, I wonder what everyone's strategy is. Many great brackets I've seen in the past actually went through some ridiculous reasons why they pick teams. Gut feeling, they like the leading scorer, they have a friend that went to that school, the colors are really cool, they just wanted to pick an upset, and it was a random selection. They flipped a coin. Since I talk about beer here, I decided to take 16 beers from 4 Minnesota breweries, Indeed, Castle Danger, Liftbridge, and Summit, assigning 1 to each team in the Sweet 16 and doing a taste test. The beer I like best in the matchup is moving on in the bracket until I get a predicted champion. And before I begin here, I do want to make a few disclaimers. 1, this is a taste test. I'm certainly not drinking 16 beers in a short period of time, and I am getting help when it comes to drinking the rest of some of the beers. Please drink responsibly. Second, none of these beers are sponsors. I literally just chose what was available to me. My original idea was actually choosing beer from each state that a team is from, but that proved to be too costly, and some states don't even have beers in my region. So now my favorite beer, this small sample size of 16, will also be named, of course, because that's going to be the one that's crowned the champion. But the main point of this is to let my taste buds that really enjoy beer predict who will advance, and then later compare that to what actually happens and to what I predicted before the tournament began. Some other rules to know: I am not going to choose based on my favorite styles, but what I think is better between the two in the matchup. For example, I really love sours, but I do like some porters over some sours. The beers will also not be known by me, as they've been covered up, the team name and seed written on them, and I've never had any of these beers before. So, will my taste buds beat out my brain? Let's find out. All right. We begin with the Sweet 16, and we begin in the West region with number 1 Gonzaga taking on number 5 Creighton. And of course, my brain picked Gonzaga to win it all, so we might have some big time differences with what my taste buds tell me right off the bat is number 5 Creighton. Let's see what they taste like. All right. Well, it's definitely got some bitters, definitely got some hops. It's pretty good. It's got a nice malty profile to go with the hops. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good showing by the number 5 Creighton there. I think. All right, let's check out what Gonzaga's got to give me now. Ooh, Gonzaga stepping it up here. Ooh, this is kind of like an ambery kind of beer. It's not that complex, though. This is a very good beer, but it's not really calling out to me like number 5 Creighton did. My taste buds are moving. Number 5 Creighton now. We got an upset already, folks. Next, we get a number 6 USC taking on number 7 Oregon. Let's see what we got here. We're going to start with the 7 seed here, see what they got to give me. Whoa. Getting some interesting notes there. I mean, it's a delicious beer. I could definitely drink a bunch of these. So we're going to move on to number 6 USC now. Whoa. Definitely some hops in that one. It's definitely an EPA or an IPA. Now, I love a good IPA, but I also love when there's different tastes besides just the bitters and, you know, the hop flavor. USC isn't doing for me. We're, I guess, another upset. Oregon moves on. All right, we're moving on to the East. And in this matchup, we get number 1 Michigan taking on number 4 Florida State. And so far, my taste buds are just calling out upsets. The West gets upended. So let's see if the East follows suit here. We're going to start with Florida State. This one definitely has a unique hop in it. It is incredibly bitter. Now, this one, they went all out in the bitters. It's probably the most bitter beer I've tasted so far. So let's pop open Michigan here. Wow, this one's going to be closer than I thought because the hops, they definitely use the same kind of hops. And of course, while I don't know the beers, you guys know the beers that I'm drinking. As it's displayed on the bottom of the screen. This isn't as bitter, and to be honest, again, like I think that sometimes brewers try to go nuts. They try to make things the most bitter they can make them, and it's just doesn't work out. I feel like, and it's easy to make a bitter beer. I mean, seriously, you just throw a bunch of hops in, it's going to be bitter. So I gotta say that based on the bitterness of the Florida State, Michigan is moving on. All right, still in the East now, we get number 2 Alabama taking on number 11 UCLA, and we're gonna start with number 11 UCLA. The hops kind of take over everything. I can't really taste the grain profile in this beer. The hops is just too much. It's too much hops. And I know people are going to be like, oh my God, how can you say there's too much hops? I love hops. Hops is the greatest. But the point is that you can have that complex hops aroma, and you can have a little bit of bitterness and a little bit of that hop flavor, but you could also accentuate the grains. You can have that like delicious malt profile, which I personally like. And now we're moving on to number 2 Alabama. This is definitely interesting. It's got a little sweetness. You definitely taste the malt. In this matchup, I'm going to move on. Number 2, Alabama. Heading to the South region, we get number 1, Baylor taking on number 5, Villanova. And Baylor, of course, is my pick for NCAA runner-up. I have them losing to Gonzaga, so let's see if my taste buds agree with me. We're going to start with number 5, Villanova. This beer is pretty interesting. It's creamy for sure. It's pretty good. I gotta say that number 5 Villanova is gonna give Baylor. We got another upset alert, folks. So here we go, number 1 Baylor. See if they respond. Oh, and they respond with the KO. That one sip is all it takes. One sip, folks. In terms of taste, number 1 Baylor is definitely moving on. All right, man. This is one of the big ones, folks. We get number 3 Arkansas taking on number 15 Oral Roberts, the 15 seed, only the second 15 seed to make the Sweet 16 in NCAA history. And I actually remember the last 15 seed to make it. Florida Gulf Coast, just lighting it up. So let's start with number 15 Oral Roberts and see if they're going to make it based on my taste buds. I have to say that so far I'm not disappointed. You get the malt profile right off the bat. There's definitely a sweetness to it. Let's see what Arkansas has to do to respond. Whoa, back to the hops. I mean, the precedent I've said so far is that a hoppy beer is having a tough time moving on in my bracket. Which is funny, because again, I do like IPAs. But this is tough, because I so want Arkansas to move on, because it's my brain tells me. But I can't. I think that Oral Roberts is the better beer again, and it's just, again, when I'm tasting these hops, it almost blends in with the other ones. Even though I could taste the little subtle differences, it's because I'm trying. If I wasn't trying, I would not know that this was different from any of the other beers. Oral Roberts with the insane upset. All right, here we go. Moving on to the Midwest region. And this one, I'm sure a lot of people I know, including my family in Chicago, are going to be very interested in. We get number 8, Loyola Chicago, who just knocked off Illinois in a big-time upset, taking on number 12, Oregon State, who are actually in the Sweet 16 for the first time in a long time, since 82, I believe. So we're going to start with number 12, Oregon State. It's got hops, but it's not insane. It's not bad. It actually, what throws me off is when you taste it, you get hops, but then the aftertaste is a grain profile, and like I've been saying, it's kind of what I look for in my taste buds. The one thing I gotta say, if I'm gonna give a knock to this one, it's that both of the flavors that I get aren't super complex. You know, they don't excite me that much, so there's a chance. Ooh, I don't know. I think Oregon State's getting a little nervous now. Wow. I mean, I'm a little speechless. Blind taste test. It's tough to take this in. Wow, it's got some subtleties. It's got some sweetness. Wow, that's good. Man, in terms of overall flavor, it excited my taste buds a lot more. So Loyola Chicago is moving on. Finally, we're coming to a close of our Sweet 16 portion of this taste test. And we get a number 2 Houston against number 11 Syracuse. To be honest, out of all the games, this is the one I'm worried about most in my brain because of how Syracuse, their zone defense is so good. I mean, it's the reason why year after year they seem to be in the Sweet 16 or making a run, even when their team isn't as good as maybe some of their historic teams. In terms of real basketballs, I definitely can see Syracuse beating my pick, Houston. But we're going to see what my taste buds have to say now. We'll start with Syracuse. Okay, Syracuse is coming at me with some berry flavors. Not expected at all. What? It's not sweet, though. I could taste the grain. That is a very good beer. I mean, man, Syracuse bringing it. Upset alert, folks. Wow, Houston's got some problems. Decent beer. A little bit of hops. Not overly bitter, but nothing crazy. I mean, this one's easy. Number 11 Syracuse is moving on. And moving on to the Elite Eight, we start in the West with two unlikely candidates. We get number 5, Creighton, taking on number 7, Oregon. We're going to start with Oregon. It's pretty complex in terms of the grain. I mean that it's not just one flavor I'm tasting. I'm tasting like 4 or 5. There's definitely some banana in this one, from the yeast, and that's good. That is a very good beer. It's very solid. So let's see what Creighton has. Kind of a session IPA, I believe. And again, I literally don't know what these beers are. It's good. It's a very good beer. But I don't get any yeast flavors in there. So my taste buds were more tickled by number 7 Oregon, which is going to the Final Four. Michigan, but we have number 1 Michigan taking on number 2 Alabama. And we're going to start with number 2 Alabama. And right off the bat, I could remember why I picked Alabama to move on. Now we go to Michigan, and yes. So Michigan was one of the better IPAs in terms of the matchup with the other beer that it was up against. But it wasn't necessarily the best IPA I've had in this whole thing. So Michigan, I mean, it's a very good hop taste. It's not a horrible IPA. It's not super bitter. You get the nice flavor notes of the hops. There's a little bit of an interesting flavor from the Alabama one. I'll give you that. Yeah, I mean, in terms of enjoyability with my taste buds, number 2 Alabama is moving on to the Final Four. Now we're moving on to the South, and we get number 1 Baylor taking on number 15 Oral Roberts Cinderella over here. See what we got. I highly doubt Oral Roberts is winning the national title. So if my taste bud thinks Oral Roberts is going to make the championship, it's crazy. But I'm going slowly on taste. And at this point, Baylor's got to respond. This has the sweetness. It has the grains. So let's see what Baylor has. Let's see what Baylor has for us. It's it's a good hoppy beer. It's as simple as this last beer, but this last beer, the beer that's paired with Oral Roberts is absolutely, it's got more flavors going on besides the hops. And this does have some grain profile to it, but it's just, it just doesn't match up. They're at a disadvantage with this random pairing here. I'm sorry. But my taste buds are getting nuts because they're sending Oral Roberts to the Final Four. Are you kidding me? We now close out the Elite Eight with a Midwest matchup. We get number 8 Loyola Chicago taking on number 11 Syracuse. And can my taste buds do the unthinkable by putting two double-digit seeds in the Final Four against each other? We start with Syracuse. It excites my taste buds. It's just a lot of, I don't expect the berry flavor to come in there, and then it still tastes like beer. It's crazy. Number 8, Loyola Chicago. Will they make it to do my taste buds think they'll repeat their last performance and make the Final Four? Wow. This is going to be tough. Both of them excite me. You get that banana. Oh, man. Wow. This might be the toughest one yet. The toughest one. And if this matchup actually happens, I think it'll be a great matchup to watch basketball-wise as well. But I mean, the Loyola Chicago has as much complexities. You get the banana. It's very Belgian-y. But there's this berryness here. If the matchups were different, this might have been moving on, but I'm sorry. Number 11, Syracuse joins number 7, Oregon, and number 15, Oral Roberts in the Final Four. Insane. And we're gonna start with number 7, Oregon. So I feel like the reason why this beer has moved on in its matchups is because even though it's simple, it has a good balance. It tastes like a good beer. Let's just leave it there. It's not anything super special, but it's a good beer. And being consistent, just like in basketball, gets to advance in any kind of a tournament. So let's move on to Alabama. Hopefully I don't piss off Charles Barkley here. Let's see. So these beers are actually I feel like they're similar, but Alabama's beer has a little bit more flavor. So whatever this beer is leading Alabama to the national championship based on my taste buds predictions. In the second semifinal, we get number 11 Syracuse taking on number 15 Oral Roberts, and we're gonna start with number 15 Oral Roberts. It's got some good flavors. It's definitely solid. And number 11 Syracuse, which we all know is that beer with a little bit of berry in it. I'm tasting these multiple times now and with different matchups. So is the berry now getting less? Is it becoming annoying? Like, do I not like it as much? The answer is no. Number 11 Syracuse is going to the national championship. Welcome to the national championship of my Taste Buds beer predictions. We get number 11 Syracuse with its berry punch taking on number 2 Alabama with its very delicious profile. And as I taste Syracuse, you get that berry, you get that grain. It's great, but I'm going to be critical this time. I have to say that if I'm going to give a knock on this one, it's that past that surprise of the berry, and to be honest, it's a surprise every time I take a sip. Past that surprise, it's a good beer, but I definitely think Alabama has a shot here. Even though I really like number 11 Syracuse's matchup, beer pairing, I have to say that number 2 Alabama is gonna be the national champion based on my taste buds, agreeing with Charles Barkley, who I'm sure has a very refined palate. Now we get to reveal, what the hell was this that I was drinking? What is this? Well, I can tell right now it's Castle Danger. And oh my god, it is literally their amber. It's the North Shore Lager. Look at that. But this one, I gotta see, Syracuse. Who's the runner-up? Berry Blonde from Lift Bridge. A very, very good beer. My taste buds say that this North Shore Lager was the best of this bunch. And it also says that my taste buds say that Alabama is going to be the national champion. Who am I to lie? I don't know. We'll see what happens with my brain and my taste buds when we actually watch the games. Who's going to be better? I don't know. Thanks for watching. The one article link and some brewery website links are listed in the description. And look on my Instagram for my reactions to each of these Sweet 16 games. Please like and follow my Instagram for more of my thoughts on arbitrary stories like this and other content. Also watch out for the future launch of the Sun-Dried Tomatoes podcast and YouTube channel in the near future. Well, I will have even more eclectic content.